we're back at it again. RIC in the place to be. Ric Serritella, kind of like it is when it comes to the NFL draft and everything pigskin. We are here on this beautiful Saturday morning, November 22nd, 2025. It's our NFL Draft Watch pregame show, and we're going to break through some of the marquee matchups along the way here as we get everything situated. And we're working through the kinks, as you can see. So we're going to welcome on the star of the show, Russ Lande, who's joining me from Chicago right now. Of course, I'm in New Jersey. We do this each and every Saturday. It's been a week since we've last spoken, Russ. I'm excited to get into what is the stretch of the college football season. You know, we've got one more regular season or one more week of the regular season until the bowl game season and the college football playoffs. And we're going to dive into some of the teams that we haven't spoken about yet leading up to the Saturday docket, and some teams that might not be bowl game eligible, an opportunity for us to talk about some of these teams who we might not discuss until next year on this show. So we'll run through it. We'll take a look at what we got. We'll break down some Big Ten matchups, Big 12. We'll dive over to the ACC. Of course, we've covered the SEC very in-depth and thoroughly.
A few times.
Yeah, and just a quick reminder over at allaccessfootball.com. We've got our Black Friday sale going on, so take advantage of the 40% discount. You can follow along on the Draft Insider that I published yesterday. I listed all the prospects for each of the teams that we're going to cover. And let's get into our first matchup of the day. We're going to go over to the Big Ten, and two well-coached teams in the Minnesota Gophers, 6-4, traveling to Northwestern, 5-5. Russ, obviously Big Ten, very tough conference, and both teams lingering around 500, maybe sneak into the bowl game eligibility, but we always know whether they're drafted or undrafted free agents coming into the league. These two teams produce some very polished prospects.
Oh, I think there's no question. I mean, PJ Fleck is about as intense as you get in terms of as a head coach, and he has his guys playing hard. And Northwestern, I think it's been a little bit of a transition since Fitz, trying to get things pointed in the right direction. But I think they are going there now, and they have a good roster. They're a pretty good team. I've actually been a little disappointed with how they've played this year. I thought they were going to be a better team, but there's a lot of good players. To me, when I look at Minnesota, it really, there's a bunch of good, solid guys. And then you have the one junior to me who's really interesting, the running back, Darius Taylor. You first mentioned him to me and brought it to my attention a while back. And when you look at Taylor play, this is a really good football player. He's thickly built, about 215, 20 pounds, 5'11" and change, runs hard with the ball, good instincts, has a feel for what's going on. The added bonus is he's a weapon in the passing game, catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. And in today's NFL, where the running back catching the ball out of the backfield is a huge weapon, breaking down opposing defenses, he's a valuable guy. I think he's a quicker than fast guy. I think he has decent short area quickness. I do question the burst. There are times when you see the hole open and he goes to hit it and a guy gets him right before he gets through it. And he doesn't outrun those angles. So the question is, does he have enough to warrant a real starting, like an opportunity to challenge, or is he that guy that's always going to be battling to be on a roster? So that third down back every year being challenged. He is a junior, so we don't know if he's coming out, but I like him. They have a tight end, Jamison Gears. Good-looking kid, 6'4.5", 255, decent athlete, not a twitchy guy who's going to run away from people. I think he's the type of guy who's probably going to get a look as a priority free agent. Two offensive linemen that they have, good football players. Dylan Ray, guy that doesn't get a lot of national publicity, but when you look at him, this is a big kid in terms of length and size, but he's not thick. When you watch him, he doesn't look overly big. He's 6'6", 2. That's 6'6.25". I should have said that. 314, got decent arm length at 33 3/4. But when you look at him, he doesn't look heavy for 314. He looks trim. He's a guy that I think is going to be a possible late round consideration, but definitely a PFA type guy. And then playing right next to him, Marcellus Marshall, another big kid, 6'5" and 7/8, 326, more of a physical, powerful kid. Not sure athletically how he's going to handle the NFL, the quickness, the explosive guys who can threaten shoulders. But this kid's a good football player. I think he's going to be an undrafted free agent and get a shot. And they have two D tackles, very different body types. You have Devin Eastern is just a huge human being, 6'5.5", 315, 33, almost 34-inch arms. You talk about a guy that looks the part coming off the bus. This is the guy you want, big, long. He can lock guys out, powerful. He's going to be a mid-round pick, I think. There's a lot to like in him. Playing right next to him, sort of the unheralded guy on the Minnesota defense, is a kid named Jalen Logan Redding, 6'3.5", 285. High effort, quick kid, can run. Just not sure where he fits at the next level because he isn't big. And when guys get hold of him, they can control him a little bit. And I don't know, although he's quick and although he's a good athlete, I don't know if he's quick enough to be that Geno Atkins type 285-pounder that can get penetration. But when you watch him play, this kid plays hard. He's a good athlete. He's around the ball. He's the type of guy that, to me, often gets in as an undrafted guy, sticks on the practice squad, and 2 years later, he's on the roster. Somebody gets hurt. He gets in the lineup, and all he does is make plays. He's probably never going to be an impact guy, but he's going to be that guy that coaches love and that they can't get rid of. And I don't mean that as a bad way, but that tells you about a kid's intangibles and competitiveness and having just enough talent to be there. The coaches can't get enough of them. They love kids like this. So I like what they have. They don't have any frontline elite day one or two guys to me. Maybe Eastern could slip into the bottom of the third, but I think it's more like day three and priority free agent guys.
Yeah, for me, it's all about Anthony Smith, the long, strong pass rusher.
Underclassman, yep.
This guy, I mean, he wrecked Rutgers. He's been making plays in the backfield all season long. Now he's getting by on his natural strength and just high motor. This guy just doesn't stop coming at you. We're talking about pressures on the quarterback. Maybe needs to develop some of the pass rush repertoire and become more of a finisher because the sack total isn't as high as it could be when you take a look at how often he's getting into the backfield. But you talk about the length and the get off. He reminds me of a guy coming out of Louisville, Yaya Diaby, who's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. I remember Diaby, I think it was down at the Senior Bowl, was just winning on length and get off. And I think that's what Anthony Smith brings to the table. And this is a guy you probably pluck in the mid rounds. You develop him a little bit. He comes in as a situational pass rusher. But golly, you cannot teach the physical acumen of the one Anthony Smith. He's a really good looking player. And I think he's going to provide tremendous value because of, I believe, the strong edge rusher class this year.
Yeah, and the guy, and I'm not trying to overhype him, but the guy whose body type and style he reminds me a little of coming out of college is Chandler Jones. Now, Kevin, we're going back. You and us, the old guys, we can remember them. You young folk, you probably don't even know who that guy is. You probably think about the receiver in the CFL, but yeah, he has that. When you watch him, he's got quick feet, he's got twitch, he's long. I mean, when you look at him, you actually think he's longer than he's listed as because he's so sort of built, sort of linear, not thick-wise. He's not. I'm not saying he's Chandler Jones, the guy that's going in the first round, but there's some similarities when you watch these guys play, and he seems to have the ability to use his arm to keep guys off him. That's a rare skill. A lot of D linemen never learn how to use that arm to keep guys at bay while they're trying to rush. They just focus on their pass rush moves, and those are two different things. He's an intriguing kid. I've heard rumors that he may stay, that he may not come out. But if he does, I think you're right. I think that third to fifth round is probably where he's going to go. But he's a pretty looking kid.
He sure is. And I just want to follow up on Darius Taylor because he had very high grades coming into the season. I think he ran into some injury woes once again. And that's kind of the knock on Darius Taylor. Is
3 straight years, I think, right?
Yeah,
little
durability. And, I'll tell you what, though, the kid is tough as nails. There's no question about his toughness. In fact, I like, we dig into the background and try to look for traits. I mean, this guy's a natural athlete, an all-state wrestler, all-state track and field. So when you talk about that kind of pedigree, the competitiveness, the athleticism, and you alluded to, he's more quick than fast. He's not going to test through the roof, but he does have, I don't think he has the skill set of a feature back, but he does have a 3-down back toolbox, right?
Yep. And he has that mentality.
Yeah.
of a 3-down back because
So
he plays hard.
he's probably a mid to late round guy. RB2, RB3 can fill in and start for you in a jiffy, but probably not your feature back.
No, and when I look at him, there are two guys he sort of reminds me of. You may remember one of them, the Cobb kid, came out of Minnesota a while back.
Yeah.
And the kid that's now was with the Bears, and I think he's now with the Lions, the bigger kid, number 5, whose name is slipping my head, the one who pairs up with Jahmyr Gibbs, David, I can't remember his name.
Oh, David Montgomery.
Montgomery. Yeah. There's a little bit of similarity to Cobb and Montgomery in that he's physical, he's tough, he has really natural hands. He just doesn't have that twitch. But when you watch this kid play, and maybe that's where he's better off, being that backup who comes in and maybe he can stay durable.
Yeah.
Because maybe the overuse is just breaking it. Certain guys just break.
And I mentioned the toughness. He's out of the streets of Detroit native, and he's got 6 siblings, all sisters, Ross. You think there was a wait in the bathroom in the morning growing up in the Taylor household? But
hey, trust me, I know exactly. My wife is one of 6, and there were 5 girls and 1 boy. So I've heard the stories. So that is a rough life.
All right, good look there at the Minnesota Gophers prospects. Let's flip the script and go visit the Northwestern Wildcats right in your backyard, Russ. We alluded to it at the top of the show. Some pretty good players here with the Northwestern team.
There are. I think it's a lot similar to Minnesota. Most of them are sort of late round, priority free agent, but they have 2 guys to me that stand out above the crowd. I think one of them is actually an underrated player. Their left tackle, Caleb Tiernan. I heard a lot of people before the season saying, oh, maybe a 4th rounder, maybe a 3rd. I think this kid, when the testing is done, the interviewing is done, I think people are going to say as a guard, because he's got the shorter arms at 32 and change, I think they're going to see that size, 6'7", 320. They know how smart he is. He plays at Northwestern. He's tough. He's competitive. I think this kid could be a guy that gets into that 2nd round. I don't think he's a premier athlete to be able to stay at tackle and overcome his arm length, but I think at guard he'll be more than athletic enough. The question for him is going to be, can he play low? Can he sink down and play a little bit low because he's 6'7"? He's a legit guy. They have 2 guards, Evan Bernston and Martez Lewis, very different guys. Bernston's about 6'3" and change, 300. Lewis is a big, good-looking kid, almost 6'6", 335. I mean, he looks like a mammoth on the field. Both of these guys are not highly regarded NFL guys that are likely going to be early picks or even late picks. I think they're fringe 7th rounders, probably UDFAs. They have a tough, hard-nosed running back named Cam Porter, 5'9", about 215, hard runner, not explosive to me when I watch him, but I think he's a good undrafted type guy. Their quarterback, Preston Stone, I almost think is he more of a CFL consideration than an NFL guy. I think he's going to measure in that 6 foot to 6'1" range. I think he's a better athlete than he gets credit for. I think he can move around. He can make plays with his feet. I just don't know if he's got the passing skill to really compete for an NFL roster spot. On the defensive side of the ball, they have some good players. It starts with Anto Saka, a guy that when you look at him, in my opinion, he actually looks a little shorter than he is. He measures about 6'2.5". When you look at him, he almost looks like he's about 6'1". He looks like a little sort of almost a stocky linebacker, but he's a good athlete, knows how to get to the quarterback. I think he's a guy that legitimately could threaten to get into day 2 of the draft. Playing on alongside him on the D-line, you have Aiden Hubbard, 6'4", 260-pound defensive end, and Carmine Bastone, sort of an undersized dude, 6'1", 289, 31 and change arms. I mean, he is everything that you say you don't want at 6'1" with 31-inch arms. But I'll tell you one thing, they have a lot of other D tackles that were more highly regarded coming into the last 2 years. And this is the guy that keeps starting games and keeps being a productive player. He isn't pretty, but he plays like it's the end of the world every single snap. He's the type of guy that often ends up finding a way to be that 4th tackle on game day. Really competitive kid. And then the other kid, that Yanni Karliftis, 6'2", 230. The kid can run better than he gets credit for. I like him. I don't know if he's going to be able to get into the draft. I think he's more of a PFA. I think really, other than Saka, all their defensive guys, Hubbard, Bastone, and Karlaftis, are all undrafted guys They're going to be battling in the spring, all-star games, combine workouts, to try to find a way to get into that 7th round.
Yeah, good job there. I'll follow up on Saka because I do think he's a smaller guy who's going to have to probably play standing up outside in the 34 scheme. I think he's an outside linebacker, but he's twitched up. He's quick. Again, one of these developmental guys, I think it might take a year or two of development, pack on some weight on his frame, and just get him coached up in the technique department. Tiernan's another Detroit native, long, strong. You mentioned the experience starting at tackle and guard over the past 3 seasons. He might be a kind of Mekhi Becton conversion type, a big, lengthy tackle who has to kick inside at the next level. And I will mention, while it hasn't been spectacular and the Northwestern offense isn't explosive, you mentioned Preston Stone, who's been a journeyman quarterback here throughout his collegiate career, but Griffin Wild, he came over from South Dakota State University. He was an FCS All-American, big, lengthy playmaker wide receiver who just doesn't get enough opportunities. He's got about 400 or 500 yards receiving. He's just a guy to keep an eye on, maybe a late-round prospect, transferred up from the FCS to the FBS. But Griffin Wild, just an intriguing guy. I'm going to be curious to see how he tests during the draft season. Yeah,
for sure. He's a very intriguing kid. I think one of the things you're getting at Northwestern, and similar to Minnesota, is all these kids are prepared. They're going to test, and Northwestern, like Iowa, has a history of their guys test better than they actually sometimes play. So I'll bet you he, along with the linemen, are going to test better and maybe move up a little bit compared to where we think they're going to get drafted or selected as undrafted guys right now.
He's Russ Lande. I'm Ric Serritella. This is the All Access Football NFL Draft Watch Show. We're breaking down some of the marquee matchups throughout the weekend, taking a look at some of the teams we haven't really dived into thoroughly as the college football season winds down. We'll be shining the spotlight on the bowl games, the college football playoff. We got an all-star game updates. In fact, 25 guys, including Caleb Tiernan, invited to the East-West Shrine Bowl. You can find the East-West Shrine Bowl tracker over at allaccessfootball.com. We got the NFL Draft HQ headquarters now in the menu tab, just added this week. You basically have a whole NFL Draft war room in the palm of your hands. We've got over 1,000 prospects there, loaded with scouting reports, verified measurements, projections, all of our intel. The NFL Draft Bible scouting department's doing wonderful things. And, of course, it's our Black Friday sale. Save 40% off the All Access Annual Pass. We'll also throw in a free copy of the Value Picks book, courtesy of Neil Stratton over at InsideTheLeague.com. So, $60 value for $20. You get 2 books, Value Picks, plus the 2026 Draft Bible, over 500 in-depth scouting reports. And we turn over to the Big 12 and the Big 10 matchup, Minnesota Northwestern. That's a noon Eastern affair. Also a noon Eastern affair in the Big 12. Kansas 5-5. At Iowa State, 6-4. Russ, we haven't talked about these two teams since way back early in the season. Let's update our listening audience. Let's just get right to it and dive into the Kansas Jayhawks and look at some of their top prospects.
Well, firstly, I think, and this is something we've talked about a few times when we've talked about certain teams like Kansas this year, Nebraska. They've done a great job of building their roster with solid workman-like guys. They're not loaded with day 1 or day 2 seniors, but they have a lot of seniors who have been there a while. They bought into the system and helped make that a good team. I think that's a big part of what has allowed Lance to do such a great job there. I think it seems like Jalen Daniels seems like one of those guys that we think we've been watching for 10 years. I mean, He burst on the scene, exploded, looked like a superstar. Then he missed a year due to injury, and the Jason Bean came in and replaced him for a year, and then Daniels has come back. And I love Daniels when I watch him play. I love the energy. I love his ability to make plays with his feet. I just really question if he has the tools to throw the ball well enough. When you watched him against Missouri, there were 2 or 3 plays early where he could have ended the game. He missed deep throws that were gimmies. I mean, gimmies. Remember, this is from an out-of-shape old man who couldn't throw the ball 5 yards accurately. So I'm not saying a gimme for your average person, but I'm saying that for an NFL quarterback, those are gimmies. And he missed easy throws. It makes me concerned. Can he be accurate enough to make it in the NFL? I do think he's going to get a chance at the next level, because his character and intangibles are so tremendous. He's an athlete with a big arm that maybe he's that guy that you're second or third on game day. The guy who can come in, do some unique things, and if things went sideways with an injury, he could get you out of a game because he's so smart and so reliable as a person that he's not going to make mistakes. Their offensive line, I mean, they're full of tough, hard-nosed guys, probably all going to be PFAs. Maybe one or two gets a chance as a seventh rounder, but you have Bryce Foster, the center, 6'4" and change, 312, 31-inch arms. Kobe Barnes, big kid, 6'3" and change, 317, almost 33-inch arms. He's probably the best lineman they have. Then you have Enrique Cruz, sort of came out of nowhere this year. Wasn't a projected starter, 6'6", 320. Been a real solid guy for him. I think all three of these guys are probably guys that are going to be free agents. Chance somebody gets into that seventh round area. They have two good senior running backs. Hinshaw has been sort of the guy that gets all the attention, but LaShawn Williams, another one. And these guys are similar, both 5'10" and change, 215, 220. I like Hinshaw a little more. I think he's a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more a guy that makes it big, makes that big play when he has to. Both these guys probably are going to be late round picks, would be my guess. I don't think either one of these guys is going to be an early guy. Their two receivers, Henderson, and I like the Levi Wentz kid. I think he's a guy that's a little underrated. I think he's going to test better than we think. He's a big kid at 6'2", 202. I think he's going to test. I think he might run in the high 4.4s. And I think if he does, he's going to squeeze into day 3 of the draft. Defensively, they are loaded. A lot of really good players. Not many that are going to be very high picks, but it all starts, we've talked about him before, Dean Miller. Long kid, a little trim for a defensive end, at probably 225, 235. But this is a kid at 6'5", knows how to get to the quarterback, plays with an edge. I think he's a guy day 3 people are going to look at. The rest of their D-line, Justin Finkley, defensive end, about 6'1" and change, 250. Their defensive tackles, DJ Withers and Tommy Dunn, hard-nosed competitive guys. I think they're all in that priority free agent, undrafted free agent range. I don't think it's likely that they're going to get drafted. I think they're more of, we've been really good college players. Do we have enough to make the jump? Kamara is a guy that I think is more on the radar of getting drafted. He's a good football player. He has speed as a linebacker to make plays from sideline to sideline. Additionally, I think their corner, DJ Graham, doesn't get a lot of publicity, but he's had a better year than I think people anticipated. This kid, although he's not huge, at 5'11 plus, 200 pounds, he's got enough size and NFL teams will be excited about him. And I think he's moved from an undrafted guy to a late round consideration this year. And the other kid I like, he just plays the game the way I like it, is Lyric Rawls, the safety. When you watch this kid play, he's around the ball. He seems to have just that sort of air of, I'm going to make the play. Don't worry, guys. I'm going to take care of things. We're all good. And I just like the way this kid plays. There's something about him. I could see him being an undrafted guy that maybe gets a $2,000 signing bonus and isn't even highly thought of, comes into camp, balls out on teams, and makes it a fourth safety, maybe even a practice squad guy, but has a role on teams. I don't think he's ever going to be that guy you plug in and say he's our starting safety. But there's something about this kid when I watch him play. I think he's going to be a hard guy to cut.
It's all about the upside, and that's what we try to look for, especially in those later rounds or undrafted free agency, the 8th round we like to call it. And, to me, Dean Miller is all about the upside because, the production might not be there in the stat box, but when you get a hold of this guy and you get to mold him, he's long, he's lean, he's athletic, he's got a high motor. He just needs to refine that technique. Again, you come into the league, you pack on some weight, refine some pass rush moves, and you hope you catch lightning in a bottle a year or two down the road, because this is a guy come pro day, he's going to jump through the gymnasium and test through the roof, and then you try to figure out how to incorporate all those physical traits and materialize it. And, to follow up on Jalen Daniels, because he is intriguing. I think he's got about 4 years of starting experience. He's just got he's a quarterback in a running back's frame, It's like, he's built like a running back. I wonder if that's his best bet moving forward to prolong his pro career. If not, I could certainly see him north of the border, where we'll be joined by a guest later on in the show today. Jalen Daniels could have superstar written all over him in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, he's a really interesting guy when you look at guys in the CFL that have been successful. He's athletic. He's a leader. He's got a big arm, so he can make all the throws on the bigger field. There's something really intriguing about him. I think he's the guy that comes up there, spends a year or two on the PR. One of the things people don't seem to understand is even though, yes, most Power Four programs could compete with CFL teams on the field, a quarterback jumping up there, it is a huge challenge. It takes a year or two to adjust. But there's something there in this kid that I could see him being that third quarterback and really being able to make it an impact early as a third quarterback on game day, and then a year or two down the road, try to develop him.
Yeah, I've always been told, 3 years kind of the golden rule for a quarterback to not only adapt and learn the rules, but adjust to them so that their natural habitat, like they're not thinking about it. It is a little bit different. Of course, now they're changing the field dimensions and tweaking the rules. So there's going to be everybody with a learning curve. But PJ Walker of Calgary this year, perfect example, has NFL experience, was a stud in the XFL or Spring League, and then goes up to Canada. And basically, he stepped in for Vernon Adams when Adams went down to injury, but basically took a redshirt year to kind of adapt and adjust to the Canadian game.
Yeah, I mean, there's really only been the one guy that everybody always points to is Ricky Ray way back when, was the only guy that really came up and succeeded his first year. I mean, Anthony Calvillo, Hall of Famer, wasn't until his third team in the CFL that he became an elite quarterback. Vernon Adams bounced around to about 5 teams before he really became that guy. The adjustment to the bigger field, the 12 guys, the motion, all those things takes time. So I think that when you look at Dan, you just think, okay, are you willing to sit for 2 years? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Are you willing to be on a PR for 2 years and see where things go?
All right. He's Russ Lande. I'm Ric Serritella. This is the All Access Football NFL Draft Watch Show. We're breaking down the prospects. We're so happy to have Russ with us each and every Saturday, breaking it down, chopping it up. Of course, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, St. Louis Rams, XFL, CFL, UCLA, CBS Today, football GM and scouting course over at SMWW. He's got a resume longer than my grocery list that I need to get done here over the weekend. But Russ, we're talking Kansas. We're talking Iowa State. We've talked about the Cyclones. Matt Campbell, once upon a time, turned down the Detroit Lions head coaching job, and they wound up with Dan Campbell. But when you talk about one of the most well-respected college football head coaches and preparation for the next level, Matt Campbell, I think, maximizes. He gets the most out of less more than just about any coach at the NCAA level.
Well, firstly, there's no doubt he gets the most out of his players. So similar to Iowa. I mean, it's unique that they're both there. And also, I think what you have to give him credit for is, unlike a lot of coaches who, as soon as that next big job is there, they jump. I think he realizes the grass is not always greener. He's got a great thing going there in Ames. They're winning, but you don't have to win 10, 11 games to keep your job and be able to do your thing. If they win 7 or 8 or 9 every year, he's going to have a job for the next 20 years. And I think he realizes that. When you look at their team, firstly, it's a little disappointing. Everybody came into the season, wanted to see Jeremiah Cooper. Everybody's all excited. We're going to get to see him. He's been injured. So we don't really get to talk about the kid that is there, in my opinion, best prospect. But
they moved him, I think, this year from safety to corner.
To corner. He was going to play corner, got hurt, and basically he's sitting for the year. Nobody knows if he's going to be back for next year or what the situation is, but everybody was really excited to see how he would do. And similar to Kansas, they don't have as many, but they have a lot of seniors that are solid prospects. When you look at them on offense, Eli Green, the receiver, and then they have sort of a tight end, H-back, Tyler Moore. Both these guys have been very good, productive players for Iowa State. Eli is 5'11", 195 pounds. A good football player. I think he's going to struggle to make it at the next level. Probably going to be an undrafted guy. Tyler Moore, same thing. Good tight end. I'm not sure he has what it takes to make it at the next level. There are 2 tackles, James Neal, who plays left tackle, and Tyler Miller. 2 very different-looking guys. Neal at left tackle, 6'4" and change, 320, 34-inch arms. And then Tyler Miller, 6'8" and a half, 336, 34-inch arms. Neal moves better, better athlete. Miller is a massive human being. Although he doesn't look massive because in terms of weight, because he's 6'8" and change. I think both of these guys are probably not late round considerations, more undrafted guys. But I could see a team taking a flyer on Neal in the late round because it's hard to find tackles. He's got the arm length. He's almost 6'5". And then the best players they have really are on defense. Their best guy is Dominique Orange, a true power two-gap nose tackle guy, just under 6'2", 330 pounds, big, long arms, almost 34 inches. He has the strength to control guys at the point of attack. He's not the guy who's going to make big plays outside of the box, but you talk about a guy that's got a little bit of short area quickness, can be productive in a short area or in a small area, and really knows how to use his hands to control players. I like this kid. I think he's going to be a starting defensive tackle in the NFL. Playing next to him, Tamatoa McDonough, about 6'4" and change, about 265, high energy edge guy. I think he's looking on the outside, looking in to get drafted, but he's been a good productive player for Iowa State. And then Caleb Bacon, their linebacker, and similar to some of the guys we've talked about for other teams, big long kid, about 6'4", 240, who's more out in space, chasing plays. Again, on the outside looking in, but I like Bacon. I think he's got a better chance to stick than McDonough. But there's no doubt to me that the best prospect they have that played this year is the Dominique Orange kid.
Yeah, Big Citrus, man. He is a monster. I mean, this guy's got a massive wingspan. He's almost like an octopus the way he just wrangles up the runners. He could be double or triple teamed. He just gets that arm out there and scoops you up and swarms you in. I'm a big fan, and he's probably going to start off as a 2-down, run stuffing, right? And he needs to polish up. Again, one of these guys that needs to polish up his pass rush because he's not exactly explosive off the line of scrimmage, but you talk about the anchor, his ability to gain leverage, engaging and shedding blocks. I mean, he really relies on his power, and I agree with you. I think this is a starting caliber nose tackle type prospect that'll probably go inside the top 100. And then one other guy who just popped onto the radar, shot out of a cannon, Abu Sama III, the running back there, 5'11", 210. Should test pretty well from what I've been told, but he's got great size, excellent vision, tremendous lower body strength, and enough wiggle to make the first defender miss, right? He's got that elusiveness. He also lines up as a slot receiver. He really works that zone blocking scheme very well for the Iowa State Cyclones offense. So just another player that I wanted to mention there as we wrap up a look at the top draft eligible prospects for the Iowa State Cyclones. And did we mention Rocco Beck? He's a redshirt junior quarterback. I know
he is. Yep, Anthony Beck's kid. Yep.
I think it would benefit him to return for another season because he was a little bit up and down this year, and I'd like to just kind of see him continue to develop.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, when I watch him play, there are times I see him make plays and I say, "Oh, that's a legit NFL play." And there are other times I see him make those and the ball tails away. It doesn't have the power behind it. And I think, ooh, that's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, without question, he needs to stay another year. He has not impressed me enough to make me think, yep, definitely going to get drafted. So I want to see him stay. Let's see what he does next year. I think he's a fringe guy right now. I don't think he's a definite day one or day two guy that's going to get a real chance to compete. I think he's more of a day three free agent type guy in terms of what I've seen so far.
I'm with you. He's Russ Lande. I'm Ric Serritella. We're here each and every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, the All Access Football NFL Draft Watch Show. And, of course, log on to the website. We got the Draft Insider went up yesterday, the world-famous All Access Football Report on Wednesday, the Scout Notebook on Monday. We continue to shine the spotlight on the East-West Shrine Bowl invitations. We got 25 players officially invited to the East-West Shrine Bowl, where we'll be on location, of course, for the Senior Bowl, the All-Star Game circuit, bringing you boots on the ground coverage of the NFL Scouting Combine, the Pro Day, scouting trails, and everything else in between. But check out the NFL Draft headquarters. It's up, active, live right now. You basically have an NFL war room in the palm of your hands. Everything and anything you could possibly want to get you ready for the 2026 NFL Draft. Just 152 days away from Destination Pittsburgh. Unbelievable when you think about it. So one more game we're going to preview. We've got a great guest coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Ralph Holley of the Toronto Argonauts, fresh off of his contract. The ink has hardly even dried on the contract yet, but Ralph will be here to join us and talk about him rejoining the Toronto Argonauts, where he won a CFL Grey Cup 2 years ago and then had a brief stint with the Cleveland Browns this past season. So we'll hop on Ralph. But first, we turn our attention to the ACC, Russ. Duke 5-5 at UNC 4-6. Manny Diaz, Bill Belichick, friends off the field. I heard a little bit about Belichick's press conference this week talking about how much he has learned from Manny Diaz throughout their conversations over the years. Two head coaches that obviously want to have had better success this season, but kind of a building block year, a transitional year, however you want to phrase it. We'll see what the future holds for these two programs, but let's get right into the Duke Blue Devils, who are 5-5. And I'll tell you what, he's only a redshirt sophomore, but this Darian Mensah, I really, really like, and I think he could be in contention for the 2027 NFL draft. And I think he's good enough to maybe even be the best overall quarterback in 2 years.
That's a bold statement. I haven't seen enough to stand up on the table like that, but that's a bold statement. You know, I'll say for Duke, unlike Iowa State with Cooper missing him, with Duke, it looks like Trey Moore is going to return this week. And he, to me, is their best prospect. He's a legitimate guy that NFL teams are excited about. Strong safety. He's been out for a bit, but he's supposed to be back in the lineup. I think that's not only going to help their team, but I know NFL scouts are very much looking forward to seeing him again, get a feel for where he's at. This is a kid that I think has a chance to be pushing to get out of day 3 and into day 2. I really like this kid. Overall, a lot of undraftable guys. There are guys that are going to be right on that fringe, UDFAs. But the one intriguing kid that I think could move a little bit higher on offense is the Bruno Fina kid, the left tackle. I think 2 reasons. One, he's talented, 6'4.5", 306. He's got shorter arms at 32.5, so he's probably going to have to play guard. But I would bet, because his dad was a first-round pick and played a long time in the NFL, I would bet he understands that. I would bet he's been working on what it takes to play guard, and I'll bet you he understands what it's like to be a professional. So I think Fina is going to be a guy that maybe isn't getting a lot of pub now. I think someone on day 3 is going to take a shot on this kid. I think he's going to end up overachieving at the next level. They have 2 sort of guys at receiver, sort of overachiever types, Cooper Barkate and Samir Hagans. Barkate is 6'1", 195. Hagans about 5'10", 190. Neither one of these guys is going to run away from you. They're good, solid receivers, sure-handed guys. I think both of them are undrafted type guys. I know I mentioned the Bruno Fina. Justin Pickett, the right tackle, a huge man, 6'7", 320. Not the athlete that Fina is, but a bigger guy, more of an undrafted guy. I think he's going to have some athletic issues at the next level. Defensively, DJ Anthony is a kid you mentioned to me a while back. Tall kid, 6'5", 250. Long arms, 34.5-inch arms. Good football player. I don't think he's got that suddenness, that rare twitch to be able to really challenge to be a guy that's going to be a starter. I think he's more of an undrafted guy. The kid that I like of their sort of undrafted consideration guys that I think really is more of a draftable guy, but his size is going to kill him, is Chandler Rivers, the corner. But he's 5'8.5", 184 pounds. 29.5-inch arms. Those numbers are going to really make it tough for an NFL team to pull the trigger. But I think if you just watch the film and you didn't know how tall he was, I think you'd say he's definitely somewhere in that 5th to 7th round. But I do think as the NFL keeps getting bigger and bigger, those 5'8" guys, especially short arm guys, teams have a hard time pulling the trigger. So I think, although I like him as a draftable player, I think he's probably going undrafted. And safety Caleb Weaver, I think he's been a guy that people didn't expect a ton out of this year. The guy's just played good ball. Just under 5'11", 190, plays like his hair's on fire, good football player, and he's willing to hit. I like him as a guy that might slip in and maybe be drafted a little higher than people expect, or get a little more money as an undrafted free agent than people expect.
Yeah, you mentioned Chandler Rivers, and he's just a spectacular player. You watch the film, he's making plays all over the place, but you mentioned 5'8", kind of like, I think, Dante Dion back in the day coming out of Boise State. But there's just too many shortcomings, literally
Yeah.
and physically speaking, that in the NFL it just doesn't fly. And I've seen, draft Twitter's got Chandler Rivers as a first round draft pick, and that's why you've got to kind of weigh all the measurables and the variables. And when you got a guy who's 29-inch arms, 5'8", and light as a feather, those guys don't typically make it in the NFL. So it's
Yeah,
tough.
it's a tough road to haul.
It'll have to be a special teams role.
Yep.
And then really you're just holding your breath if you do have to get them into game action because of the height and length limitations. But just
I'll tell
one
you
last,
one thing.
yeah.
He should be on a CFL radar.
Oh yeah,
You,
no
you
doubt.
get that kid. I mean, that's what you're looking for. The guy that's good enough to play in the NFL,
Yeah.
but might get washed out because of size. He's the perfect guy to go up there, like Najee Murray. Been up there for about 7-8 years, and he's about 5'7", and this kid's bigger. So yeah, he's perfect CFL dude.
And I think fans don't realize the bias in the CFL. Some of the GMs, they won't take corners under 6 feet in the CFL. Believe it or not, it blows my mind.
It's
But
crazy. I mean, I think we both know what we're talking about. There's one guy, he wants him 6 foot. He wants him running 4.4 in the CFL. And I said, gosh, the NFL
they're all in the league, coach. Yeah, they're all in the league, coach.
If you're 6 foot and you're running 4.4, you're getting paid and playing on Sundays unless you've done something off the field that's going to keep you from playing. They don't find those guys.
Yeah. All right, we got one more team to preview until we welcome on Ralph Holly. Speaking of the CFL, a member of the 2024 Toronto Argonauts Grey Cup Championship team, and he was with the Cleveland Browns this past season. He rejoined the Toronto Argonauts, signing his contract last night. He'll join us here in about 5 minutes or so. And let's break down our last team of the day, the North Carolina Tar Heels, Russ. We've mentioned things have not gone well in Chapel Hill. Things have gotten better more recently. They've been more competitive. They got some W's on the board. They brought in over 70 new players, a lot of meshing to have be done throughout the season, and not a lot of high-profile guys here on this Tar Heels roster. Who do you want to touch base on?
Well, firstly, I'll say the two things. Firstly, it's a little disappointing because so many of their players are transfers that they didn't turn out to be very good. So they've got to figure out how to get better players through their transfer evaluation process. That's, to me, one of the things that's held them back. One of their better players, though, is not going to play. He's been battling a concussion. Bryce Yates, been out for about 3 or 4 weeks, so he's probably not going to play. But there are a few guys I really like. Firstly, Thaddeus Dixon, the corner, and Marcus Allen, the other corner. These are 2 6-foot-plus kids that can run. I think Dixon's a better football player. I think he's got a chance to press into that second, third round area. Long athletic kid, not long arms, but 31 and change. Dixon, about the same size, thin as a rail, though. When you look at the two of them, they look like almost a father and a son because one is thicker and one is thinner. Both these guys are going to get drafted. I think Marcus Allen will probably be a 3rd round or day 3 type guy. A few guys that I do really like, though, that are very intriguing is Daniel King, the guard tackle type guy. He's played some tackle in college, but he's been more of a guard. Transferred from Troy, 6'3.5", 350. Powerful kid, stays over his feet. I don't think he's athletic enough to play tackle at the next level, but I think he's athletic enough to stay in at guard. Also, their right tackle, Ja'Kai Moore, transfer from South Carolina, over 30 career starts. Big kid at 6'6", 320. I don't think King or Moore are guys that are going to be drafted, unless maybe we're talking 7th round. But I think both of them are intriguing practice squad type, PFA type guys. Bring them in and see if they have a chance to develop. Because you don't start 30-plus games at D1 schools without having a little bit of grit, a little bit of competitiveness. And we both know when you're talking about guards, a lot of that success is not due to being a great athlete. It's due to competitiveness, technique, smarts. And both of these guys have that. So I'm intrigued to see where they go. The Vilbert Smith kid, a good-looking kid, long, linear, 6'6", 280, sort of that move defensive end that Coach Belichick has always liked, the guy who can play outside, he can be inside, he can press and hold it line of scrimmage. I like him. I'm not sure where his home is at the next level, but he's an intriguing guy that I think someone's going to get as an undrafted guy who's got a chance to make it.
Yeah, good look there at the Tar Heels. You know, the two corners I think are the guys most visible on the draft radar, and I like Dixon more than Allen myself. You know, he stepped on campus from day one, took over the alpha leadership role on the entire team. The teammates all gravitate towards him. He's got tremendous work ethic, high football IQ. He's like a coach on the field. You know, Allen, to me, when I watch him, he's been a little bit too grabby for me. You see him too much laundry on the field. He's been beat on the long ball a little bit more this season than he was as opposed to last season. So I'm going to hold my reservations on Marcus Allen for the time being. Now, I was down there in training camp and did get the lowdown on all these guys. One of them being Andrew Simpson, the transfer linebacker from Boise State, undersized at 5'11", but he's flying around the football field. He's creating turnovers. He's making plays everywhere. I do believe he's a redshirt senior and will be draft eligible. But again, priority free agent. You bring him into training camp, special teamer, fourth or fifth linebacker in the future for Andrew Simpson, and then one guy who the coaching staff did not mention, and I got to say they were pretty well prepared for a completely new roster. But one guy I don't think anybody knew much about is this Melkart Obu Jayadu, a junior edge rusher at 6'4", 260. I think he's got like double-digit sacks this season. And I really haven't done a deep dive onto him, but when you just take a look at the production and what he's done, he's basically been their best player this season. And he's only a junior, so just somebody to keep an eye on. I don't think he declares this year, but somebody worth noting when you talk about the North Carolina Tar Heels, who have not had too many bright spots, but Melkart Abu Jaidu is one of them.
Yeah, no doubt. It's and you do a great job of tracking these guys out.
Well, that's what we do each and every Saturday. We're live 10 a.m. Eastern here. Russ Lande, Ric Serritella holding it down, counting you down to the college football action. We're going to get ready for our guest coming here up in just a few minutes. And, you know, we did have an ACC matchup last night, Russ, Florida State, NC State. The Seminoles fall short once again.
Yeah, it's one of those games where I have a feeling both coaches came away saying, wow, we did not play particularly well on offense because neither team moved the ball. The defenses played well, but I think what was sort of funny is late in the game, Florida State gets a stop. They're down by 3. North Carolina State punts, and one of Florida State's, not the returner, one of the guys going back, it hits his helmet and bounces all the way back to the punter who falls on it. But then the crazy part is, so NC State gets another 4 downs. They get stopped again. They have to punt again. The punter punts again, and the returner muffs it, and North Carolina State recovers. So how crazy is that? It's like, oh my goodness, they screwed it up. And I will say we had a similar thing. I think I've told you the story when I was with the Alouettes. My team, I was with the Alouettes for 8 years, but my second or third year, we were 0-7. We changed quarterbacks to a guy I pushed to get up there, Jonathan Crompton. We win out the rest of the year except one game. We make it to the game before the Grey Cup. We stop them. We're down. We stop them on downs. They punt, and up in the CFL, as you know, and Ralph can attest to this, there's something called an onside punt. So if a guy is behind the punter at the moment the ball is punted, they can recover it. They punted. Our guy's letting it bounce around because he doesn't want to get in a halo. This guy runs down, recovers it. They get the ball. They kick a field goal. We stop them again. Now we're down by 6, so we still have a chance to win. They punt again. The same guy comes down and recovers an onside punt because our team still doesn't know what an onside punt is. So 2 straight punts. They recover the onside punts. We lose, and we don't go to the Grey Cup.
Man, that is a heartbreaker, and that is a tough blow to take on the chin. And such is the nature of the Canadian Football League, who just wrapped up their season. The Saskatchewan Roughriders taking home the 112th Grey Cup as they defeat the Montreal Alouettes, who Russ was formerly a member of. And of course, 2 years ago, it was the Toronto Argonauts who took home the Grey Cup. And our next guest is a undrafted free agent out of the 2022 NFL draft class, where he was a all MAC first team selection at Western Michigan, has spent some time at the United States Football League with the Philadelphia Stars, as we just alluded to, a member of the Toronto Argonauts Grey Cup championship team in 2024, and a member of the Cleveland Browns this past season, who I had a chance to scout in person while he was with the Cleveland Browns. And now, currently a new member or a returning member of the Toronto Argonauts, fresh off his contract. The ink is hardly even dried, and we welcome him to the show right now, Ralph Holley on the NFL Draft Watch Show. Ralph, good morning. How you doing today, man? Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning. How you guys doing? Thank you for having me on, man.
Yeah, no, we're excited as two people who have worked in the Canadian Football League. We know what it's all about, and it's exciting time. It's the off season. Teams are looking to build for next season. And as I alluded to, you were a member of the Toronto Argonauts championship team 2 years ago. This year, they did not qualify for the playoffs. They, dealt with some injuries, but you bring that championship pedigree back to the organization. You led the CFL in sacks, I believe, 2 years ago with 8. Of course, you bring that pass rush experience. First of all, congratulations. Talk about your new contract and then what it is you hope to achieve with your second stint in Toronto.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. The main thing that that I had talked to Pinball about was just the type of winning culture that we just need to reestablish in Toronto. And I love the plan that they have set and planned for me and just for the team and the organization. They're making moves to like just establish that winning culture again and just to put us in the best position to have that get back to that Grey Cup winning season. So yeah.
So Ralph, I got a question for you. I worked 11 years in the CFL. I actually was helping Murph out in 2024. When you guys won the title there. So one of the questions I always get asked by D linemen when I'm trying to recruit them up there, and I'd love to get your thoughts is, and I tell them about the 1 yard difference. And they all don't know what that means, what it's like. So what is it like for you, having played American college football? What's the transition like? How hard is that?
So I will say it does take some like a little bit getting used to. I remember my first couple of days in camp when I first got to Toronto. I was lining up off sides every single time. Like
I've seen that a lot.
And it's really just getting your spacing for real. Like once you get your spacing and you have that line set in your head of where to line up, it gets pretty easy. But honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it worked to my advantage. It worked to my advantage. I like
you gets going, right? Get you a step before they can get their hands on you.
Yeah, it lets me be a wrecking ball, man. Like that's what I like, going like head full of steam right into somebody.
So here's another question, because you played up there, so I know you weren't there this year, but when you were there previously, who were some of the better interior linemen that you had to go against, like offensive guards or centers?
Oof.
Like the stage kid with Montreal or any of those guys, or?
I don't know if they're still at Hamilton right now, but the interior from Hamilton and the interior from Ottawa were just
really good.
Really good.
Okay.
Really good, man. Like the two guards from Hamilton specifically, I remember.
Oh, Riebenberg and
oh yeah. They they were some very established vets, and they let me know they were too. So but it's always good going against competition like that. I can't wait to go against them again this next year, because that just makes me better. Like we played them the first time and I got absolutely like destroyed that first time we played Hamilton. And the second time we played, I ended up having like a sack or two. So, I learned very quickly. I don't.
There you go.
Yeah.
Ralph Holley here on the All Access Football Show with Ric Serritella, Russ Lande. We're talking the Canadian Football League as the CFL offseason is underway. The Grey Cup has wrapped up, and Ralph Holley joins the program and fresh off his stint in the NFL. And Ralph, I had a chance to get to see you. I was down at the joint scrimmage when the Browns were down in Philadelphia against the Eagles, and I
Yeah.
had a chance to talk to some of your coaches, and they were like very, very impressed. You had a very competitive camp, and you said you're a fast learner. So I'm curious,
Mhm.
what were you able to grasp from that NFL experience, and what will you take with that you moving forward?
Yeah, yeah. That experience was amazing, man. Loved it there. You know, and I was blessed to be around some very, very great vets. Like I was probably around one of the best pass rushers like in modern times, Miles Garrett. And that's my guy, that's my boy. He taught me a lot, and I really do pride myself on being a pro and taking care of my body you know, and also the way I play as well. And me watching Miles, and not even just Miles. I've been blessed to be around a lot of pros. When I was in 2024, I was around arguably like the best D line, and I was just a rookie. With Jake Serritella, Flo Oramalade, Robbie Smith, Jared Brinkman. I had all those guys to learn from as well. But you know, Miles just taught me how to be even more of a professional and to be just how to carry myself and how to just take care of the body in a different aspect to help with your production. So that's like the biggest thing that I've learned. And also my get off. My get off is one thing I pride myself on with my gameplay. But he was just teaching me different things about ankle flexibility, and different things to stretch, different ways to just do mobility just to help, with your production on the field. So yeah.
Good stuff, man. It's great, learning from a future Pro Football Hall of Famer. Miles Garrett is one of the most dominant pass rushers I've ever seen, and I've been alive to watch Lawrence Taylor, so that's saying something.
Yeah.
Ralph, let me ask you this because we do cover the Canadian Football League as well as the United Football League very in depth here at All Access Football. And we talk with
Yeah.
a lot of free agents and we cover a lot of free agent showcases. And there's always a dilemma with the American players, especially who played collegiately in the States, in
Mhm.
terms of where to continue their playing career and the advantages or disadvantages. A lot of them seem hesitant to go up north and play in Canada. The preference is usually home in the States, but you've kind of taken the other trend and have decided to go back north of the border. Can you stay? And you've played in the United States Football League. So are you
Yeah.
able to compare or contrast, or like any players who might be in a similar situation, what you can kind of pass forward based on your experiences?
For sure. Yeah. The main thing, that was a decision maker for me for not continuing the UFL because I've been in every league. So I'm, I would say I have a tad bit of experience, but I would say that I love the CFL and how it's an established league. I'll say that you know the CFL and the support system here. Uh, the and I love having the UFL. They do have a fan base and everything like that as well. But I just love how the CFL just takes care of their players. Like point in case. And I like being up here and everything like that. But I also would say that it gets you just so much film, so much film, and it guarantees you're playing football for a year. You know, and it's a blessing to play football at this level in any league. So uh, that's why I'm a big CFL advocate, but I'm also an advocate of just continuing to play professional football wherever you can. And I think the UFL is a great opportunity as well. But my heart is in the CFL. It's in Toronto, and if a player is teetering to either go to the UFL or CFL, I would tell them just weigh the options. Know that the CFL's benefits and everything like that. It's a year-long commitment, and you can't say that you can't go to if that's your goal to go to the next league. Like you can't say that you can't do it because I've done it. So like you know, I feel like there's equal opportunity, but I feel like there's a little more game in the CFL.
And I'll jump in, Ralph, and sort of give the bad reasoning that I always try to sell players on why go CFL versus UFL
Yeah.
is if you go to UFL and you play 2 years and it's great, and then the league goes away or whatever, come to the CFL, that means your third year playing pro ball, you're signing a rookie contract in the CFL. If you come
Yeah.
straight to the CFL, your third year, you're looking at a new contract. So just monetarily, the CFL ain't going away. It's been there 100
Exactly.
years. It's going to be there. Get up there sooner. Get into that second or third contract. You can start making the money that guys like yourself or Eugene
Yeah.
Lewis or somebody like that. Whereas when you come up as a rookie, you're making 70 or 75. That's a guarantee, and that's Canadian. So
Hmm.
you want to make you want to get to that second contract as soon as you can.
Yep. Yes, sir. It offers a sense of stability. So,
No
that's
doubt. The
huge.
league ain't going away.
Yeah, I would
Exactly.
say that's the one biggest difference between the two leagues. There's a gap of pay in terms of there's just no room to advance in the UFL, right? Everybody makes the
Hmm.
same fee,
Yep.
and CFL you can get compensated for your performance, and so you've got to take those factors into consideration. All right. Last one for me, Ralph. We'll get you out of here. I've got a chance to visit a lot of the great cities in the Canadian Football League outside of Toronto. Where's your favorite venue or city to visit up there in Canada?
Ooh, I would say, man, that Grey Cup week, man, in Vancouver, man.
I was
That
there.
that was
Yeah,
that man, that was great. That
that
was
was
great.
cool.
Like,
Yeah.
I love that city, man. Great food, like great scenery, crazy scenery. Like, I didn't even know we were on the water till I like walked down and saw water and mountains at the same time. I'm like, where am I? So
It
it
is.
was
It's like a
crazy,
different
man.
world. Yeah.
Bro, for real. Yeah, yeah. It was just crazy. But I love that. I love that city. So yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Russ? Any comments, questions?
No, I'm excited for Ralph to be back with Toronto. I mean, they had a great run in 2024. I think it's all set up. If they can figure out and get Chad healthy,
Yeah.
I think they have a chance to be an elite, not just a good team, an elite team. Because I think he is the best player in the CFL when he's healthy. So
Yes.
I think they got a chance with you anchoring the defense, him on offense. You guys got a chance to be really special.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we'll be keeping tabs, Ralph. We'll be looking forward to the upcoming season. Any final message or parting shots for the Toronto Argo fans listening at home?
Get ready for a great season and a
All
crazy
right.
defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to hear.
All
Yes,
right, Ralph.
sir.
Well, hey, thanks for spending some time with us this morning, fresh off the contract. Again, congratulations, and I'm sure we'll be in touch down the road.
Thank you for having me on. Y'all have a blessed day. All right.
You
Thanks,
too.
Ralph. Good luck, my man.
I
Enjoy the
appreciate it.
weekend. All right, there's Ralph Holly. And like I said, the ink has hardly even dried yet on the contract, Russ. And good to chop it up and get some great perspective, some very valuable insight there from Ralph Holly.
Yeah, it's funny. I still remember my first few years up there, and it still happened every year, even after that, is when you would bring up, especially the really explosive pass rushers, and that first day or two playing with the 1 yard difference, the number of them that would explode off the ball and then literally face plant because they were used to almost leaning into the contact.
Contact, yeah.
And all of a sudden, that guy's not there. They're going right into the ground. It was hysterical. And also for tackles, too. The amount of guys who would slide out and they'd be like, where is everybody? And they didn't know what's going on. So he made it seem like it wasn't such a big challenge. And maybe that's because he's so talented, having played in the NFL. But a lot of the guys that get up there, that 1 yard, it takes them a good 2 weeks of practice to start getting a feel for when do I shoot my hands? When do I
Yeah.
set them up for a move?
Yeah, it definitely takes reps. And we're looking forward to Ralph Holly as the Toronto Argonauts try to get back to their championship winning ways.
Once they get a new coach and figure all that out.
Yeah, they do have a head coach vacancy currently, and Hamilton Tiger Cats have a GM vacancy currently. So CFL offseason in full effect, and maybe we'll start incorporating some of that into our shows here if we have some time. But definitely another hour of power filled with NFL draft nuggets, Russ. I thank you so much for the time. Enjoy your college football Saturday.
I'm
We'll be
going to
back
try.
next week to break down the final regular season week of college football action. Unbelievable. And I know there's a 6-pack, I believe, of ranked teams in action on Friday Night Lights. So we'll have a lot to dissect on Saturday morning next week, of course, as well as the Saturday afternoon ball games.
That's if we're awake from eating all that food on Thanksgiving.
That's right. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
happy Thanksgiving. We won't
Yep.
see you until after the holiday. We'll each be
Yep.
about 10 pounds heavier.
Yep. I will
And
say though, it's a good weekend because I get to play hockey tonight. I get to play hockey tomorrow. So getting a little bit
so
in
you're,
shape
you're you're
before
burning off the
Thanksgiving.
calories in advance of the eating. So
Yeah, I'm not going to eat until Thanksgiving. If I get 2 hockey games and not eating, then I won't gain so much weight.
there you go. All right, Russ. Well, we appreciate it. We'll do it again next week. And sayonara, buddy.
All right, my man. Thanks,
All
Rick,
right.
for having me. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I'm just gonna stay on and do the promo wrap, so I'll let you skedaddle. There he goes, Russ Lande. I am Ric Serritella. This was the All Access Football NFL Draft Watch Show, and we thank you so much for tuning in for another edition here. I can't believe it's November 22nd, 2025. Thankfully, Russ reminded me about the Thanksgiving holiday. We got half days of school this upcoming week, a lot of food, a lot of family, hopefully, a lot of friends, a lot of good times. And we'll come back next Saturday and recap all the action that was. Again, a very, very exciting Friday night docket next week. We'll talk about that on Saturday morning. We'll also preview some of the marquee matchups. We'll be back throughout the bowl game season, the college football playoff season. And we have the Black Friday sale going on until the end of the month, 40% off. That includes a copy of Value Picks, the drama decision, and details behind 8 selections of 2016 NFL Draft 10-year anniversary. Our good friend Neil Stratton interviewed over 100 front office executives and personnels. You've got testimonials from NFL GMs. We're going to include that as part of your subscription. You also get the 2026 NFL Draft Bible, over 500 in-depth scouting reports there. Boots on the ground coverage. We've also confirmed between Brian Baldinger and myself, we'll be on location at every single All-Star game, bringing you the names you need to know. And that includes the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl, the Hula Bowl, the American Bowl. We'll even be on location for the FCS Combine out in Nashville, down in Vanderbilt, the first week of January. We'll be on location at the NFL Scouting Combine. Our good friend Howard Balzer will be providing some Combine confidential insight there. Of course, he's celebrating 50 years of covering the NFL. We also have Dave Del Cole and the Scout Honors podcast. That'll be starting up once draft season rolls around, in memory of Dave T. Thomas, the legendary draftnik. And we've just got daily NFL draft updates. If you're into the NFL Stars of Tomorrow, go subscribe today, and we've got you covered. The 411, the best draft coverage on the planet, quite frankly. And if you don't think so, money back guaranteed. I promise you the NFL draft guide will be more in-depth, more comprehensive than anything you can find anywhere. And if you think there's a better draft guide, show me one, because I want to get it. Our drafts scouting front office is doing a phenomenal job, by the way. We have a bunch of future NFL scouts, including Dominic Ambrose, Lauren Davidoff, Jarrett Regal, Ryan Paglia, Will Donahue. They're doing big Willie things, and we appreciate their services. Of course, every Monday we do the Scout Notebook. Okay, that'll be this Monday, compiled by the NFL Draft Bible front office department. We'll compile all of our scouting reports from over the weekend and present them on Monday. I've also got some featured articles that I'm working on, a look at the tier 2 quarterback prospects, and the QB class could be dwindling down. Not a lot of redshirt seniors. We'll take a look at some of the tier 2 quarterbacks. Also, I got a story I'm working on, the D2 Derrick Henry, just a name you need to know for the upcoming 2026 NFL Draft. Don't forget the world famous All Access Football Report every Wednesday, read by 50,000 subscribers from 75 countries around the globe. We just keep growing and growing. Used by all 32 NFL teams. They're all subscribed. We cover the NFL, the CFL, the UFL, the European League of Football, the arena football, the indoor football, every pro league. We got power rankings each and every week, top stories, headlines from around the world of football. And then Friday's our Draft Insider. You can go over to the website right now. Actually, I posted the new mock draft. I went the whole hour and 20 minutes without mentioning our new NFL mock draft, which we just posted on Friday yesterday. And of course, you'll get our marquee matchups, all the matchups that we profiled today. the top matchups of the college football weekend. We've got scouting reports. Of course, the NFL draft Bible headquarters is now active and live on the menu bar. If you go navigate on the website, it's basically having a NFL war room in the palm of your pocket. We've got over 1,000 prospects broken down by conference, Power 4, small school, mid-major. We got the All-Star game invites flowing, the East-West Shrine Bowl tracker. We got over 2 dozen invites we're up to over there. So big board rankings. We got the top 50 draft eligible players at each position. Never mind a overall big board top 50. No, we go deep, baby. We got top 50 at each position. So I'm telling you, nobody's breaking it down like the NFL Draft Bible and All Access Football. It's what we do since 2002, celebrating 24 years of providing independent analysis. So if you like the content, if you want to support independent media, if you want to unlock the magic and be the most prepared individual in the room come draft weekend, go over to allaccessfootball.com, take advantage of the Black Friday sale, save 40%, get yourself a free copy of value picks, and just submerge yourself into our draft universe. Submerge yourself into the life that we're living each and every day around the clock. And we appreciate all the love and support. For Russ Lande, I was Ric Serritella here on this November 22nd, 2025. Enjoy the Turkey Day festivities. And we'll be back at it again next Saturday live, 10 a.m. Eastern, with everything you need to know as we count you down to the 2026 NFL Draft. As of today, just 152 days away until destination